One woman, a butcher. What happened that night is just disgusting. Listen to the story.
Whatever had done this was obviously a monster, and we had to do something. We had to somehow finish it.
No matter how long you've studied true crime, one question always remains: how and why? There are things that happen in this world that are simply impossible for us to understand. You look into the backstories of killers, searching for answers to those questions. Sometimes you find them, but there are also cases that leave you completely confused. Cases so brutal that any hope of understanding disappears. One of those cases is the story of Katherine Knight. When you look at her crimes, the question of how she became a murderer isn't enough. Because Katherine didn't just become a killer. She became something much worse: a butcher. In October 1955, Barbara Rufflin gave birth to twins, two girls named Joy and Katherine. However, the children were not from her husband, with whom she already had 4 kids. She had met a coworker named Ken Knight through him, and the twins were his. In 1950s Australia, this was a serious scandal. From the beginning, the family situation of Katherine Knight and her twin sister was complicated. At first, the twins were raised by their mother Barbara and her betrayed husband. But he died shortly after, and Barbara moved with the girls to their biological father, Ken Knight. But what waited for them there was far from a peaceful, blended family. Ken Knight was not only an alcoholic, but also violent. He regularly abused and threatened Barbara. Katherine and her twin sister witnessed all of it up close. Katherine later claimed that even as a child, she was abused by different family members. As a teenager, Katherine started showing disturbing behavior. At least once, she reportedly attacked a classmate with a weapon. A teacher had to step in so forcefully that he was injured while stopping Katherine. At the age of 15, she left school and worked for a while in a factory. When Katherine left school, she still couldn't read or write fluently. Even so, she soon found a new job, one that young Katherine described with excitement as her dream job. She started working at a slaughterhouse. Considering what would happen later, that statement sends chills down your spine. Because during her time at the slaughterhouse, Katherine learned many things, skills she would later use outside of her workplace as well. In 1973, at the age of 18, Katherine met her future husband, David. He also worked at the slaughterhouse. Like Katherine's father, David was an alcoholic. Katherine convinced David to marry her. During the wedding, David was heavily drunk, and Katherine's mother, Barbara, pulled her new son-in-law aside. She gave him a serious warning. Barbara warned David about her own daughter, saying Katherine wasn't right in the head. She said Katherine was so unstable she might even be capable of murder. Barbara told him to take care of himself. And on their wedding night, that chilling warning began to come true. The couple had sex 3 times that night. Afterward, David fell asleep. But for Katherine, that wasn't enough. She got angry and felt rejected, so she almost strangled David to death. And this wasn't the only violent moment in their marriage. Violence was a constant part of their relationship. One time, Katherine hit David so hard on the back of the head with a frying pan that he suffered a fractured skull. She also burned all his clothes and destroyed other personal belongings. Although David was seriously injured, he found the courage to go to the police and file a report. But he soon withdrew it. Katherine had convinced him to do so. Even the birth of their daughter in 1976 couldn't fix the marriage, which was already broken by violence. In fact, things got worse. David cheated on Katherine repeatedly and left her multiple times. As a new mother, Katherine spent much of her time alone. When the baby was just 2 months old, Katherine placed her on train tracks, apparently intending for a train to hit and kill the child. By chance, a passerby found the baby just before a train came. Not long after, Katherine reportedly threatened several people with an axe. Despite these serious incidents, Katherine and David had a second child together. Again, Katherine's behavior raised concern. She was seen in public violently shaking the stroller, and bystanders contacted authorities. Katherine, now a mother of 2, was diagnosed with postnatal depression and admitted to a psychiatric clinic. But no one seemed to realize that her problems went far beyond depression. At the clinic, Katherine even told a staff member that she had almost killed a man. The man was a mechanic who had repaired David's car, a car that David then used to visit his mistress. In Katherine's eyes, the mechanic had made the affair possible. Despite all this, Katherine and David moved back in together after her release from the clinic. But only a short time later, David finally ended the relationship for good. Still, Katherine wouldn't stay alone for long, because soon she would meet her second husband. Katherine's second husband was also named David. Once again, the relationship was marked by violence. The two get together in 1986, and Katherine had 2 daughters with him. Their arguments escalated quickly. One time, Katherine slit the throat of David's puppy right in front of him to show him what she was capable of. Another time, she stabbed him with a pair of scissors. The relationship didn't last long, but once again, Katherine quickly rushed into her next relationship. Her new partner, John, stayed with her for 3 years. They had a son together. The relationship ended when Katherine cheated on him with another man also named John. She began a relationship with this second John, and he would become the man she would later murder with unbelievable brutality. In 1995, Katherine moved in with her new boyfriend. John owned a small house in the town of Hunter Valley. Their relationship lasted nearly 10 years, but just like her previous relationships, it was filled with violence. At first, everything seemed to go smoothly, but that changed quickly when John made it clear he didn't want to marry Katherine. In response, she schemed to get him fired from his job, forcing him to look for new work. Again and again, she abused him, emotionally and physically. One time, the two even ended up sitting together at the police station. Katherine is said to have chased John with a butcher's knife. Both of them gave different statements about the incident, and in the end, the case was closed and filed away. Katherine once told her daughter, "I'm going to kill him, and then I'll get away with it. I'll just act like I'm crazy." John had 2 children, including his daughter Rosie. She later said in interviews that she had warned her father about Katherine.
I used to tell Dad all the time, get rid of her. Just over the years, they were together 7 years off and on. Me on the outside looking in, I could see exactly what was happening. I could see what she was doing.
In February 2000, John tried to get a restraining order against Katherine, also to protect his 2 children. Katherine's violent behavior had gotten so out of control that even the children's safety could no longer be guaranteed. On the same day, John called a coworker. He said that if he didn't show up for work in the next few days, it probably meant Katherine had killed him. And on the morning of March 1st, 2000, John did not show up for work. That was very unusual for him. John was an easygoing guy, and you could always count on him. A coworker drove to his house to check if everything was okay, but before even entering, he turned around because there was blood on the front door. The coworker immediately called the police. Officers arrived at John's house around 8 a.m. It's not uncommon for police to do wellness checks to make sure someone is okay. And while the blood on John's door was alarming, it could have had a simple explanation. Maybe he had fallen, hurt himself, and made it back inside. Or maybe he injured himself doing yard work the day before and simply overslept. But nothing could have prepared the officers for what they found inside that small house. Already in the hallway, they saw a huge pool of blood. Throughout the house, there were blood splatters and smear marks. In the living room, they found John's body. He had been stabbed at least 37 times. From the blood at the door and the smears across the house, it was clear that John had tried to escape after the first attacks. But it seems he was dragged back inside. John Price couldn't save himself. His head was missing. His skin had been removed. So precisely that during the later autopsy, it could actually be reattached to his body. Next to him lay a large butcher's knife. Whoever committed this terrible crime must have been an expert in this area, Or rather, a person who knew exactly what they were doing. Someone not only capable of cold-bloodedly decapitating a man, but also removing his skin in one whole piece. Someone like Katherine Knight. In the kitchen, John's head was found on the table. Next to it were plates, but the meat on them didn't come from an animal. It was human flesh, cut from John's buttocks. Now it was served with vegetables, arranged on his own dining table. A police officer who was among the first to enter the house described the scene like this. "I saw his entire skin, what you'd call the hide, in one piece, with a meat hook pierced through the scalp and hair, hanging from a door frame in the dining area. It was just dangling there. Then we looked down the hallway at all the blood and moved on to the kitchen stove, where some meals with meat and vegetables had been prepared. We then looked inside a large cooking pot and lifted the lid. Inside it was John's head." Katherine Knight was still in the house when the police arrived. She let them arrest her without resisting. It appeared she had taken a large number of pills, but she was still conscious and able to speak. During questioning, she insisted that she couldn't remember anything about killing John. A long debate followed about whether Katherine Knight was mentally fit to stand trial. But in October 2001, the moment came. Katherine finally had to face court and answer for her actions. She pleaded not guilty. But with the overwhelming evidence against her, she didn't stand a chance. The facts were clear. Katherine Knight was sentenced to life in prison. The judge ended the sentencing with the words that parole should never be considered. Katherine Knight was to remain in prison forever. To this day, many rumors surround the exact details of how John Price's body was found. Some sources claim that Katherine planned to invite John's children for dinner and serve them parts of their own father's body. Others say that Katherine herself ate part of John's remains before the police arrived. What's true and what's just a horrifying myth, no one really knows. The crimes of Katherine Knight traumatized many people, not just the person directly affected. One of the police officers who found John's body later spoke openly in an interview with The Sun about his mental health struggles. He said that discovering the body at John Price's home was what finally broke him. To this day, he suffers from post-traumatic stress disorder and is in regular therapy. According to him, other officers involved in the case also changed drastically afterward. Katherine Knight is now 67 years old. She will never leave prison for the rest of her life. Who knows if she's even capable of understanding how much pain she caused so many people. And even if she does understand, the question remains whether she's able to feel anything about it at all. If you like this video, feel free to leave a like, a comment, or subscribe to the channel. Also, turn on the notification bell. It really helps the channel a lot. Early interaction after a video is uploaded increases the chance that YouTube will recommend it to others who haven't subscribed yet. Thank you so much in advance, and of course, thank you for watching. Here you can see the next gruesome case. Click on it. Until then, see you soon. Stay safe.